Good evening. We are the group two, and we will be discussing about the topic that was given to us entitled travel writing theory. This discussion will cover the executive summary of the two studies, the objectives, theories, analysis strategies, and key findings. We sought out two studies that are related to our topic, entitled Discourses of Difference, an analysis of women's travel writing and colonialism. The other one is a short fiction by women from Wales, a neglected tradition. We dissected the two studies and we link one study to another. We also look for important information that is relevant to our topic. Now, let's go to the summary of the two studies. We have first the discourses of difference, um, an analysis of women's travel writing and colonialism. Discourses of difference unravels the complexities of writings. The authors examine the relation of women travelers to colonialism, positioned as they were at the site of conflicting discourses, humanity, feminism, and patriarchal imperialism. Using a feminist discourse theory, the authors analyze the writings of women travelers. Her examination of agency identify identi- identity and the contemporary social environment is an important and inspiring step forward in post-colonial cultural and literary theory. This analysis provides a useful entry into the field of travel writing from a feminist perspective, which combines post-colonialist theory. We have also the um, short fiction by women from Wales, a neglected tradition. This study traces the emergence of a distinct literary tradition of female-authored short fiction in Wales. It knits together a range of theoretical frameworks, including travel writing theory, ethnography, and autoethnography, and ecofeminism. In order to adequately describe, sedate, and critique the evolution of the form from the late 1830s to the present day. The introduction looks at the history of the theory of short fiction, especially the work of Frank O'Connor and Claire Hansen, as well as European models. It also explores the interrelation between an emergent short fiction form, the sketch, and travel literature through the lenses of imperial travel writing theories. Both studies have the same aspect as they write a travel theory. They are connected in feminist theory, which is all the authors are women who learn more about gender disparity. They want to emphasize the short stories they have been written to geographic and cultural stories.
Next is the objective of the study. The objective of the study, entitled Discourse of Difference, an analysis of women's travel writing and colonialism, is to find out what makes women's travel writing special, as well as what features it shares with men's writing. Even though women's work appears to share identical characteristics with men's, it is appraised and classified differently, according to the author. Thus, the contrast between men's and women's writing is not a simple textual distinction, but a sequence of discursive demands on production and reception that female writers must navigate in very different ways than male writers. This study's complexity stems from the attempt to look at women's travel writing in connection to men's travel writing during this time period, as well as on its own terms. While the short fiction by women from Wales, a neglected tradition, is to recover and reevaluate the voices of women who have been lost, neglected, or simply forgotten, frequently for no good reason other than the author's gender, to reintroduce neglected texts into the sphere of Welsh writing in English. as well as to form new links with new voices as part of a more fully realized tradition of Welsh women's short fiction. To bring together a variety of textual strategies seen in travel writing, sketch writing, and short fiction. This study aims to highlight the resemblance between subject matter and narrative strategies in short stories written by women of Wales, while giving emphasis for geographic and cultural specificity of these stories.
Now let's move on to the theories used. Respectively, the two articles have used more than one theory in their study. The common theory that has been used by both articles is the feminism theory. Feminist theory is known as an extension into theoretical, literary, or philosophical discourse. The goal of this theory is to learn more about gender disparity or gender inequality in travel writing. Feminist theory looks at more than just gendered power and oppression in order to understand how women's experiences differ from men's experiences. It also looks at how oppressive regimes interact with one another. The second one is the discourse theory, which is a system of rules where utterances or texts are produced. All of the utterances and texts produced by those system of rules. The grouping of utterances and texts. Anything that implies or has a significance can be considered part of discourse. It differs in terms of the institutions and social practices through which they emerge, as well as the positions of those who speak and those whom they address. The third one is short fiction theory, refers to a body of work that is extremely diverse in terms of genre boundaries and is itself constantly shifting. In recent decades, genre theory has moved away from essential notions of what text types are, instead speaking of genres as sets of textual tendencies and practices that are present in varying degrees in different texts. We are now down to the last theory used, which is anxiety of influence theory. Refers to the fear that the writer feels that he is not his own creator and that the works of his ancestors exist before him and out of his comprehension. This theory suggests that any decent reader of any type of literary work who isn't a connoisseur or an ideologue, but someone with literary sensibility, will realize that influence anxiety is anxiety achieved and by the story, novel, poem, play, or essay rather than by the forerunner.
Analysis strategy. In our analysis strategy, we use colonial discourse analysis. According to Harris in 2004, colonial discourse analysis critically examines the role played by these representations in colonialism and imperialism, which focuses more about understanding of colonial power achieved by explaining colonialism's basic geographical dispossessions of the colonized. Moreover, a thematic analysis is used in this study. According to Brown and Clark in 2006, the phases of thematic analysis allow for a systematic way of seeing and processing qualitative information through the use of coding. Thematic analysis has several phases as described in the following. First, data familiarization. Second, generating initial code. 3, searching for themes across the data. 4, reviewing themes. And 5, producing the report.
Now, for the key findings, it has been laid all through the research that the author's aspiration for writing this book is to expand the horizon as it gathers various theoretical frameworks and establishing a form of analysis that will account for the commonalities and distinctions of human travel writing within a certain historical and political patch. The following are the significant breakthrough of Sarah Mills throughout the research analysis. First, it has been found that the Foucauldian analysis can be grafted into feminist analysis to provide gendered colonial discussion theory, much as aware of the difficulties of using the work of male theorists. Second, Minha 1989 and Spivak 1987, a feminist theory about the colonial discussion concerned with sexism, yet set those issues within other digressive frameworks and conflict as critics as what have they demonstrated. And for the second key finding, Michelle Denninger writings also attempted to furnish different styles of writing which also transpired from female short fiction writers throughout the last 2 decades of her time. She aimed to extract awareness of numerous preoccupations in these texts with shifting identities and changing place. Thoroughly, she even distinguished different stories entitled Getting Up and If Those Who Have Plenty Takes could come from identical oppositions speak volumes about how women writers develop their imaginations about whales. This is the profound discovery of Michelle Dininger all throughout her research. Brito and Miram 1990 suggested that the affair of adding up terms with identity, whether Welsh, Caribbean, or English settler, intent the convergence between place and its identity. The affair of language remained a crucial concern for numerous writers in Wales. Because of the accents in Wales language addition and expansions of awareness of its cultural understanding.
Once again, we are the Group 2, and that would be all for our report discussion. Thank you for listening.